Hey everybody, so here we are on a Monday morning now, and I was going to do a King Heathen intro because I have my brew, and I was going to greet all of you heathens, but, well, it's been done, so I gotta find something else, which is why I gotta quit doing that. Hey everybody, you guys may like it, I don't know, let me know. So I was going through my videos today, and just on a whim I was checking to see if anybody had put any response videos. I've said before, I have my email set to send me an email only if I get a new subscriber or if I get an actual PM. I don't have it set up to email me when someone attaches a video because unfortunately YouTube doesn't allow you to separate video response emails from comments. So getting an email every time someone leaves me a comment seems like that would be a bit much, and so I haven't turned that on yet, so I guess I'll just have to make it a habit to check my videos to see if there are any video responses attached. Anyway, so today I was going through my videos and I noticed that A Decadent Song had put up a video, and it's her first video, and she asked me some rather interesting questions concerning relationships and my relationship with God back in my 20s, and she put it as a response video to growing up, not growing up, my Roaring 20s Part 3.0. I will put a link probably on the screen so that you guys can go over there and see her questions and make sure that I answer them appropriately and make sure I didn't miss anything. I did sit there and watch it 4 or 5 times, and I wrote down some notes, and I wanted to just go ahead and reply to her and see if I could, I don't know, help a little, if not her, help me try and figure some of this out. First of all, I do want to explain, or I do want to say that my relationships with females has always been unhealthy. Even now, at 33, 10 years after getting engaged and all of the other jazz that I went through, I can say that, well, you all know that I'm single, so I can say that I've not had a completely successful relationship with a female ever. And one of the reasons behind that is because that selfishness versus self-interest that I mentioned at the end of my Roaring 20s 3.0 is a very, very fine line to walk. And that's one of the points that A Decadent Song brings up, is how do you balance? How do you balance between being around someone all the time and still having your own time? It's the age-old question of, do you still have guy time when you have a girlfriend or a wife? Do you still have girl time when you have a husband or a boyfriend? And in my personal opinion, I think that that is extremely important. I think that when two people enter into a relationship, that it needs to be understood from the very beginning that there are going to be times, and I don't know what everyone else would do in this case. Maybe some people would, set a day and say, every Wednesday night I'm going out with the guys and you can have the house to yourself, and every Thursday night you can go out with the girls and I'll have the house to myself, or something along those lines. I don't know what kind of, I won't call them restrictions, but what kind of rules you would set up for that type of situation, although what I just said is probably not a bad idea. Now, there are people that do become completely dependent upon each other and do need to be around each other all of the time. Many of those people, well, actually my parents are a good example of those people. They got married in '69, so they've been married for 42 years now. In their 42 years, they've never been apart from each other for longer than, a week at a time or so. And that was when Dad was away on business. Actually, I take that back. Back in the 80s, it happened a little bit more, as Dad had to bounce around through the Air Force and take some other assignments, not long-term assignments, but, off to Texas for 2 months or something like that. And so it did happen, but it wasn't the norm, and they do things separately, but for the most part, they're inseparable. I would say 6 out of 7 days, other than Dad going to work and Mom staying home or doing something with her mom or my other grandma, then she and my dad only do things together. I'm going to have to pick up the pace here because I'm already at 5 minutes. So, self-interest versus selfishness. The self-interest is, to me, it's necessary to maintain your own desires and your own, well, self-interests, because you are still you. And that's one of the things that happens way too often in a lot of relationships, including my own. And you meet someone that you like, you want to spend more time around them, and you start to adapt to being around them. And you adopt many of their habits, you adopt many of their interests. Maybe you didn't like Chinese food before, but you're like, okay, I really like this person, so I'm going to go ahead and try Chinese food, and you still don't like it, but you smile through it and you keep on eating Chinese food because that's what the other person wants, and so that's what you do. And it's one of those sacrifices. But if Chinese food gave you severe indigestion and diarrhea, then it's not necessarily something that you would do, because the physical pain, number one, your potential mate, your girlfriend or boyfriend or whoever you're in the relationship with, and keep in mind, guys, I am a heterosexual male, so most of the time when I reference relationships, I'm going to be meaning female and male, only because that's where my mind is on this. I'm talking about myself for the most part, so bear with me. I have no... the only other option that I actually have is to adjust, and every single time I say he and she, to say he and he or she and she. And that just makes things too long and confusing. I actually... Side note, not that I have any time to do a side note, but I actually wrote a short story that I really like. I really like the story, but I was trying so desperately hard not to do the she and he that pretty much it did one sentence, he blah 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 blah, she blah 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 blah. Someday I'll probably post it up. If I can figure out how to draw, then I might actually do the whole story as a series, because I like the story and it's interesting to me. And if I flesh it out and give it a little bit more meat with a little bit more knowledge that I have now, then it actually might work out as a decent story. So anyway, where was I? Growing up, self-interest. Oh, that's the thing. If you eat Chinese food and it gives you indigestion and diarrhea, first of all, your mate is not going to want you to do it. No one that cares about you is going to say, I know you don't like Chinese food and I know it gives you indigestion and diarrhea, but I really like it, so can't you just do this for me? That's not something that someone that actually cares about you is going to say or going to do, and is a very quick and easy sign that there's something wrong already with the relationship, that the relationship is lopsided. And if you're willing to go along with it and make that sacrifice after they've already said, I know this sucks, but can you do it for me? And I realize I'm picking something very petty, but that's kind of my point. We do all of those petty little things when we first get into relationships. We adopt new tastes and new... Some of it could be just not self-discovery, but could just be discovery. When you meet somebody else that has a completely and totally different music taste, then maybe you find out that, you know what? I never listened to any of this music before, but I do listen, or I've listened to it, and I actually enjoy it. Actually enjoying it and accepting it is completely different than not enjoying it and accepting it just to make your partner happy. So, early warning sign: if someone asks you to do something that is harmful or uncomfortable and says to do it in the name of the care and concern that you have, then you probably really need to think about why you're with that person, in my opinion. Okay, so self-interest, selfishness, you got to walk the line. Too selfish, then you're spending all of your time about you, and you're forgetting that there is an us. And if you stick with the self-interest part, then if you're with someone that's of like mind, that person will also be doing the same thing, and they will be looking out for their self-interests. And if you both need alone time, then you guys will work something out. And maybe, like I said, you'll just have to set rules very early on. I actually have a friend in Seattle that is very much like this. He got married last year, and I sometimes sit there, I'll be playing video games with him, and we'll be 5 hours into playing video games, and I just am sitting there going, doesn't his wife care that he spent the past 5 hours with her upstairs and him downstairs playing video games? But first of all, I know them both. I know them both very well, and I know that that's not even an issue. They love each other, they enjoy each other's company, but they also realize that they don't have to do everything connected at the hip. They spend a lot of time together, but on a Tuesday afternoon, if he feels like hanging out with me on Xbox, then that's what he does. And she is usually, actually, I see her online on Xbox too. She's watching Netflix or playing video games of her own or doing something like that. It's something that they both enjoy doing, so it is what it is. I just realized how much time I'm going on, and so this is going to end up being at least 2 parts. Just so you guys know. So then another question that was posed by a Decadent Song is, what does relationship mean? What is the meaning of a relationship? Well, I have no idea. And we can put all kinds of definitions out there and see what a relationship is. And I'm not talking about the relationship between, my dog and other canines. We're talking about an actual relationship between 2 people that are not related by blood. So don't play the semantics game, if you would, please. But what is a relationship? I think that since I'm trying to answer that question, I will say that even though I'm not exactly sure, I think that perhaps a relationship is the definition that we put on similarities and the emotions that we have involved in our interactions with other people. The friend that I mentioned earlier, that I just mentioned, he and I have a lot of the same interests. I would consider my relationship with him to be very strong. It is a very strong relationship, to the point where I'm the one that gets called every time he's drunk, and he tells me how much he loves me. And I generally laugh at him, and then I tell him that I love him too, and that's it. And he, on my personal Facebook page, he actually added me as his brother on his relationships, and that's how he and I feel, is that there is that camaraderie, there is that we share interests, we share life goals, and we actually do share a couple of different life goals. So because of sharing those life goals, we both are aiming towards the same thing. And so the conversations that we have are generally centered around our feelings, because that's how we create relationships, is by opening up to each other and allowing our feelings to actually get in. And how I feel towards my friend defines my relationship with him. And my relationship with someone that I do not like is a definition that is placed on that based on the emotions that I have towards that person. So relationships, as it stands, are just a way that we simplify what we mean when we say friend, or the emotions that we have when we think about or interact with someone else. That's the end of part 1.